What is up, guys? Thank you all for checking out this edition of our Wandavision episode recap review. This episode is episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall. I'm joined by Shamari and Kendall. And guys, I thought that this was obviously an important episode given we start to see some of the illusions of this Wandavision world start to kind of come apart. And we ended with a pretty big climax of Wanda actually expanding that hex. We got some answers in regards to how far that hex has indeed been expanded and the efforts on the outside to get in. So this was a lot of important stuff happening here and a major reveal at the end.
Yeah, major reveal.
Yep.
And obviously, this episode adapting a more modern, style of sitcom. Your Modern Family.
Yeah, I was saying that play on words because of Modern Family, because it was very much Modern
Yeah, I
Family.
know, right? Blink. I mean, obviously the opening had a little bit of The Office.
Yeah.
The thing with the cards apparently is something that was done in Happy Endings, which was another ABC show that came on like Modern Family. So they definitely tried to adapt that style. I feel like that definitely is a more modern thing that we've seen, the whole mockumentary kind of sitcom. That's something that's very popular nowadays, or at least it was in the 2010s. So interesting that they adapted that.
Yeah, it was, and I love. First of all, I love going to a cold open in this episode. I love the music intro. I don't know if you guys noticed in the music intro, it was mostly like Wanda, like that. The show was called Wanda. It was only at the end where they added the vision, but I thought that kind of set the tone that this actually was kind of going to be a different show. And then when we learn in this episode that the actual feed of the sitcom went dead, it certainly I thought that certainly was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wanda was very, very heavily featured in this episode, which I mean, she's the star of the show. I see Vision as Vision isn't a side character, but in this episode that it kind of felt that way because it was a lot of her and monologuing and the interviews and her in the house, and then there was also a lot of Darcy and Monica and Wu.
Well, Darcy and Vision, that was kind of like the B.
Darcy and Vision,
that was like the B plot.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, maybe it almost been the C plot. Really, the B plot
I think it was Monica
getting in there,
and then getting her powers and stuff. Which that's a whole other that's a whole other thing to tackle.
So let's center on the A plot to start, and we'll get to some of those other elements of the show. But as we see, this episode, I mean, this episode is depressing to me. I mean, to me, this episode, in many ways, I felt like they were kind of
your Nexus, EJ.
maybe I needed a Nexus after this episode, because this episode to me, I felt like whatever Wanda is actually going through, I felt like this was their way of really, for the first time, really having her cope with those issues in the sitcom. I felt like in the other episodes, it seemed like Wanda was like definitely immersed in the world. Like whatever grief she has, it really wasn't carried with her as much in the episodes. Last week, a little bit, when she has this conversation with Pietro and she's talking about, am I doing the right thing expanding this world? But here, kind of the stress of it all, the weight of it all, of what she's trying to do, you see finally really start to get to her to the point where, as the episode's called, she breaks the fourth wall pretty much, and she's in this sitcom that, again, that is not actually being fed to anybody. She's talking about the difficulties and the challenges of actually living this world, and seeing that kind of play out, and her also trying to still deal with her kids and still keep up the charade. It almost seems like she seems worn down by it. And I think that whatever she's actually feeling, if we ever got a real look at Wanda inside, I think you'd probably see someone who's right now just like had enough. That's the impression I got. They kind of masked a lot of the humor, the darkness with the humor, which is very Modern Family like. But I think there's a lot of darkness in where Wanda's at right now.
Yeah. I mean, she's in a pretty dark place, in which we've known that throughout the series. But I think it's definitely made very clear here. And also when Monica kind of confronts her about it, you see it a lot in that scene as well.
It's a very great scene. It's a powerful scene.
Oh yeah, it's a very good scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, that was a great scene. But yeah, you see a lot of the grief. I also see. I think her mind may be unraveling quite a bit with the whole everything in her house is changing, everything in the world is changing, and so that's. We all, of course, we've had our theories about what exactly is going to happen and how this is all going to end. But I think that's really interesting as well, with seeing everything kind of going crazy and flipping. So I think it's.
So?
Well, there's a lot. So there's a lot going on, and Wanda clearly can't really control herself.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what's so interesting about this, because I'm assuming that was supposed to be all the decades changing throughout the thing. First of all, I thought it was hilarious how it starts off with Billy and Tommy being like, our game is freaking out because it's going from like an Xbox controller to like a GameCube controller.
An N64.
Yeah, exactly. It's just going through time. But
at one point they had Uno cards. I'm assuming it would have been like they were playing in the 70s because you wouldn't have video games.
Yeah, exactly. And so that, I thought it was an excellent way of breaking that down. But I'm assuming that was supposed to be a representation of just, like you said, her breaking down mentally, that it wasn't anything else. Maybe it's a microcosm or sort of a symbolism of her expanding the hex, not being able to control as many things at once anymore. Once you expand that hex, maybe she loses control of.
That's true.
It's possible. It's possible, because if you think about last week, the people that were closest to the hex, to outside the hex, they were nothing. They weren't doing anything. So to me, that makes me. I agree with that, Kendall. It makes me think that as she expands, probably the more within the hex she doesn't have as much control over. And as we see in this episode, she expanded it quite a bit in this episode.
Yeah. So I agree. I think that is a pretty good theory as well. It also makes you wonder. And of course, we'll get to the whole big reveal at the end. But with regards to other people helping her control the area, if that's a thing, is that happening? Are there other forces helping her? Control this area?
And I think go ahead, Gunnar.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I think whatever was the deal with the spoiler alert Agnes situation, I feel like she's helping Wanda control. When Wanda says, "I'm not controlling everybody in this place. I don't know what's happening." I think the other person is Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, but, because in this episode, she says like, I can't fix this. Like I don't know what's going on, and my inability to fix it was driving her crazy in this episode. That to me speaks to obviously that not all of this in terms of just the mechanism of it is being controlled. We know because of the Agatha Harkness reveal that certain aspects within Wanda's life is being controlled, but we don't know how much more Agatha has in terms of like how much she's been involved with the creation of the whole thing. But she again, a lot of this to me is like a cry for help. She's like, I can't fix this. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. And it seems like things are kind of, again, really kind of spiraling out of control. And, she pretty much says that in this episode. And that's kind of what we see, I think, when we see all these aspects of her life kind of just like freaking out. Again, turning the milk carton goes from a milk carton to a glass to a newer frame glass. Like, it's just like, it's just all over the place. And I do think that speaks to what is becoming a deeper dive into the mental instability that we're starting to see kind of play out. I think, as you guys mentioned, we kind of see that really on Front Street in that showdown with Monica, when Monica eventually breaks through the hex and tries to confront her and say that, we got to stop this. And it reminds her that, you're not the villain yet, but you will be if you continue this, and that people will make you the villain of this if you continue to act in this way. I think we should probably talk about the reveal, because I think it kind of puts everything in the season in context. Yeah. I don't think we can kind of wait for this to be the end. So, at the end of this episode, Bernard boy, you want to talk again? You talk about the connections to Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. We know that movie is supposed to have. At one point, it was a horror movie. I know Kevin Feige's kind of couched that language to say there will be horror elements or it'll be scary, and we don't know exactly what exactly it will end up being once we actually see it. But it was originally pitched as a horror movie, and I really felt like that last scene where once Agatha, who kind of sees this Monica maybe starting to get through to Wanda a little bit, pulls her away from the situation, brings her to her home, and as she's trying to get Wanda something to drink, Wanda wanders downstairs, no pun intended, and sees a world that looks nothing like anything that's been in this hex the entire time. She leads down a basement. She
notices her children are missing.
Yeah, she knows her children are missing because she sees the cartoons are on because the kids had went over there because she said she needed a day. She couldn't deal with them or deal with anything at this point. So, Agatha or Agnes agreed to take them. But she noticed the kids weren't there because their food was still on the table and the cartoons were playing, but you couldn't hear them. You didn't know where they were. That makes her wander downstairs where, Agatha said, I guess they're in the basement. And, to me, that's, a sign that Agatha was ready to now reveal herself at that moment in time. I guess we'll have to ask, why that was. When she goes down there, again, it leads to an area of this world that we hadn't seen. It's a very spooky cellar-like kind of place. There seems to be some kind of book that's illuminated and animated that's going on a shelf somewhere. And then, Agatha comes down with that, Senior Snuffles and it reveals herself as the person who's been behind a lot of what we've seen in this show. So when it comes to, I think the most important thing we see is she is the one who's summoned this Pietro. So I've seen multiple interpretations with what that meant when we saw that. But I've seen some say, well, is this her literally bringing someone, perhaps through the Nexus, because Nexus in the Marvel universe, comics universe, means, dimensions and portals and things like that. Through the Nexus, did she actually bring a Pietro in and then mind control him, or did she just create him out of thin air? I don't know. We've never seen, if you're kind of basing it off of the laws of the physics that we've seen on the show, we've never seen her just have magically appear someone out of nowhere. All the people that we've told that are in Westview are actual people from Westview or from wherever that place was originally. So is this a person she just created and made up and that ended up being just this big red herring? Or did she actually go into the multiverse and pull someone away? And that's the question I think we're going to get answered next week. I think that we're going to know this very soon.
Yeah, I agree. I think because we know she's there, we know that either a fight is going to ensue or there's going to be some kind of. We had the dramatic reveal, but there's still a lot more to know. I feel like next episode we're going to find out a lot more about what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we do have to find out. We have to find out. What's going on with the Pietro situation, which I agree. I think that's probably the most shocking thing of all the reveals that we've seen. Because we figured she would probably be behind most of the things that was going on.
And I think we all figured she'd be Agatha Harkness too.
Right. There were a lot of memes online. There was a meme online, someone me saying for the last 5 weeks, Agnes is Agatha Harkness, and then they reveal it, and then shocked face, you're still bugging out, oh my gosh, she's Agatha Harkness, and that's everybody's reaction.
Of course.
No one saw that and was like, oh, of course,
exactly.
You're still it still hit, because the way they did it was great. Honestly, the montage of her and the song of her in every episode was incredible.
Oh man, I was singing that song all day. My girlfriend's probably annoyed.
Yeah,
I've been singing that. It was Agatha all along. It's so catchy.
Yeah, man. It's an excellent.
Catherine Hahn, man, she's been great all season, but she killed that scene.
Yeah, that was an excellent casting. So a lot of interesting things there. Right? So first of all, you mentioned her wanting to reveal herself. And why did she do that? I think that she was ready to reveal herself. I think she was kind of ready to reveal herself last episode. With the whole stuff with Vision, like she was ready to get Vision out of there. She didn't need Vision. I think because she told Vision, she kind of nudged him to like, you're an Avenger. All this stuff.
You say that, but what's interesting to me is when we look at that in hindsight, Vision couldn't be outside the X. Like he was gonna die. So was she trying to kill him? She's like, oh yeah, you're a Avenger, you're a superhero. Like
she didn't need Vision.
Right.
She needed Vision because I think this goes back to episode 2 when we talked about why were they all saying for the children, and I think she needed Vision because they needed to have the kids, the twins, and my thing is that once the twins were born and they were grown up and everything, Vision was useless. At that point, he was a nuisance. So I think she tried to get rid of him, and which is why also she's trying to stop Vision from Vision and Darcy from trying to get back to Wanda's house. And then also I feel like she was waiting for both of them to get their powers, to manifest their powers. And once they manifested their powers in the last episode, that's when I think she was like, all right, now it's time for me to take them and do whatever, nefarious things I need to do.
Right.
Give them to Mephisto or whoever you want to think that person is. That's what I think is happening. I think that's the timing of everything. And with Evan Peters, with Quicksilver, I think he's still the Fox Quicksilver. To me, this is just. I think we kind of not assumed, but I think there were people that had the theory that he was a possessed version of Fox's Quicksilver, and I think that was the theory that I'd been kind of running with, is that he is Fox's Quicksilver, but someone needed to take him out of that universe and be a Quicksilver, because there is no Quicksilver right now.
The Quicksilver in this universe is dead.
Yeah,
we haven't
he
seen
died, and
from we understand. But
just bring people back to life.
Right. The only person that's technically back to life is Vision, but he's also an android.
Like a man.
And they addressed that in this episode, was also interesting. In terms of all the Vision Darcy stuff, Vision kind of breaking down why, I'm not Jarvis anymore. I'm not some sort of Ultron, code.
Creation,
what is my code? Who am I?
Right.
And they don't know. I feel like there's something SWORD did to him. I feel like they implanted some sort of thing into his brain that makes him functional.
Because we know
if he was Jarvis, he would know everything. He would know, oh yeah, I'm Jarvis.
It's very good.
This is Avengers, Tony Stark, blah, 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 blah. He doesn't know any of that stuff.
we know SWORD's trying to reacquire him.
Right.
And we know that they had him before and were tinkering with him.
Right.
So he's an asset for them. So that's a big part of the reason that they want him.
I wonder if he has some sort of like kill switch or something where they're gonna like activate him or something. They're gonna say something, and he's gonna like, kind of bug out. That's just like a classic robot.
Yeah, no, that's kind of a trope.
Yeah, it's a classic robot trope.
I think it could happen.
Yeah.
I think you end up seeing kind of a flip where, Wanda in her grief has presented herself as kind of like an antagonist character in a way. I think you may see that flip where when Wanda eventually realizes she's in danger, her kids are in danger, and they need to try to fix the situation, you may see that happen where, Vision ends up kind of being...
Hayward finds a way to switch him back to their code.
Yeah, we know he's still out there.
And then that will become a very much kind of a throwing...
Yeah, we saw Hayward in this episode.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, they said they're ready to launch some kind of operation. We don't know what that is, but it's gonna happen on the day that this episode happens. So I don't know if these next 2 episodes are one day, but to me it seems very likely that this is probably whatever they're trying to do is gonna be either revealed, but possibly even whatever action they're trying to do will be revealed. Will execute it in the next episode exactly.
Now, since we brought up Pietro, I feel like we might as well bring up the after credits. So we got that after credits.
Yeah, first post credit scene we got in all season.
Yeah, first post credit scene we got with Pietro, where he just kind of so Monica seems to find a way into the basement
Yeah.
And Pietro just pops up behind her.
Yeah.
So what do we think? What do we think's going on with
there's
that?
multiple lines of thinking with that scene. I think most likely, and I think what most people had interpreted it as was that he's working for Agatha Harkness, and so he's kind of neighborhood watch, quote unquote, and she shows up, he's like, Super's gonna snoop, and he's gonna whack her over the head or something, and or there's gonna be some sort of fight at the end. There is the sort of dark horse candidate of maybe he's not working for Agatha Harkness anymore. Maybe his use is done, and I don't think that's the case. But there's some people that maybe interpret that as they like they're foreshadowing. It's a red herring to think that they're gonna clash, but that he's actually gonna help her. So I think there's two ways of this going. I think it's much more likely that he's that we see a fight.
I think so too.
He's gonna be Quicksilver versus Photon, Spectrum, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that that showdown is gonna happen. I think that he's still under the spell of Agatha, because to me it wouldn't make sense for Agatha to release him. Like, he's a super powered person, and I know you could maybe the theory is, oh well, she's got the kids so she doesn't need anything else, but I don't know. He's a super powered person in their world who, in theory, in a vacuum, could definitely create trouble if this is not someone that you want to create trouble. I think that you'll probably see a showdown, and if we're talking about prediction and what we expect, I feel like we'll see a showdown. Vision, after realizing he's like, I'm in a TV show. Why am I obeying the rules of anything that's happening here when I'm a super powered Avenger? And he decides to fly to wherever he needs to go. Finally, and we'll get to that again, more Vision stuff later. But like, I think that Vision is gonna have to be the one to wake him up, and when he wakes him up, that's gonna be the most important scene. I don't say of the series, because I feel like there's a lot of big reveals happening, and Paul Bettany himself.
I think it is. No, I don't think you're hyperbole.
But I mean, there's a very good chance that what he says when Vision unlocks him from being under Agatha is the most important thing right now. It's the most important thing I care about right now. We got a very disappointing reveal to who the actual physicist was, but so now that's and there's other stuff. Again, there's other stuff to be revealed. But for what we know about this show, where we are today, that's the most important thing. If he stops him and he says, I'm Quicksilver, or I'm Mephisto, or I'm somebody, like, whatever that's gonna be, that's the most important thing we need to know right now. And that's the thing I'm waiting to see happen.
So you mentioned the aerospace engineer. I guess we should go to Monica's story, Monica's B plot. She's with Jimmy Woo, and she's trying to meet up with the aerospace engineer that is supposed to build her this what we eventually see is like some sort of truck to drive into the Hex, something we had seen in the trailers. And it is, Major Goodner? Major Goodner
yes.
Meets up with her.
Is it Major or Captain? Yeah, you're right, it's Major.
Yeah, Major Goodner from it would seem to be the Air Force. Obviously, I believe her mom was in the Air Force along with Carol Danvers. And she says, thanks, we've always been loyal. Monica says, thanks for your loyalty. And she's like, we're not just loyal to you, kind of wink, wink. We're not just loyal to your mom. Right. Not just loyal to your mom. Like, it seems like a wink, wink to Captain Marvel. And Monica, still no reaction. And then we get the Machine. Obviously, a lot of people took that as a letdown. To me, the actress that plays Monica Rambeau, Tiana Paris, said earlier this week that she can't wait for people to see the aerospace engineer reveal, and that there's a lot of surprises. And again, that's just people throwing theories left and right. Who is it? I think it's a Skrull. I think Major Goodner is a Skrull. I don't know if she's Talos' daughter from Captain Marvel. I didn't see the chemistry there to be assumed that somebody that she's known since she was a little kid. But it feels like somebody that her mom probably worked with. There seemed to be kind of a wink, wink, like, thanks for your loyalty to my mom. What does that mean? It's kind of a weird thing. It's not something that I would say to somebody. I'm not in the military, but it seemed kind of strange. So I'm going out on a limb saying that I believe that she's a Skrull. I don't think that's going out on a limb. Honestly, I think that's the likely. I think that's the likely scenario.
Yeah,
or it could just be that they're just Air Force buddies. But I don't think Marvel would be hyping that scene up for it to just be, Maria Rambeau's Air Force buddies. Yeah, how would she even know her like that? You know what I mean? She's so young. She's like the same age as Monica. How did you know her mom like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly odd that this aerospace engineer is just, this person. It's definitely odd. To the point where I was like, this can't be the person.
Honestly, people are still like, so who was the person?
Yeah,
it was her.
Your guess is like, this can't be the person. This is the person that she was talking about for like 2-3 episodes, or that she mentioned like twice in this show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like there's another shoe to drop with this whole aerospace engineer scenario. There may or may not be spoilers out there. Don't look it up, but I don't know. But yeah, there's theories and stuff going on and stuff going around. So I feel like there's another shoe to drop. I definitely feel like there's another shoe to drop.
Yeah, I think that, Kendall said that it's likely. I go as far as say I'd be shocked if she was not a Skrull.
There you go.
To me, the reveal was very lackluster. It was even to me, even if she is a Skrull, it's just it's tough. You build up this person that much, and
and there's so many good aerospace engineers.
Right, there's so many people you can possibly go to. Yeah, it's a very term. There's so many people you can go to, and I think that this was Marvel giving you a red herring. I think Marvel knew that this aerospace engineer would suck up a lot of oxygen in the room, and it perhaps sets up another reveal that we're not expecting in these last few episodes. It's like see the hand here, so you don't see the hand here. You know what I'm saying? So they kept hitting us with the aerospace engineer. You see it, and it's like it's just some military woman. But either way, I think that person is 100% a Skrull because.
But then the other thing is I don't trust anybody in Sword. So that's why I feel like. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She wasn't. She just feels like an outsider. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, were people saying that Hayward was a Skrull? Was that
a popular theory? Yeah,
that's something that people have said. Thing as well. I don't think we talked about it on this show, but we'll mention it because we got to talk about Darcy and Vision's kind of story arc here too. But Vision name dropped Ultron, and this is the second time or third time we've had Ultron name dropped. Yeah. I've heard people
popular theory. I know where you're going.
Yeah, I've heard people say that they think Hayward is Ultron. They think that, and there have been plenty of instances in the comics where Ultron has taken human skin and in the
cartoon Avengers Assemble.
Yeah,
he disguises himself as a government agent.
Yeah,
so and we talk about sometimes how those cartoons are a method of predictive programming. To kind of get it out there. See how people will react to it. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting.
Because his obsession with Vision, and now we know for sure that they were trying to get him online and use him. At least that's what was surmised by Jimmy by looking through Project Cataract or whatever they call it, Operation Cataract. Like, to me, okay, that I'm not saying that that's 100% gonna happen, but we're falling in that line of who would care to want to make him a weapon or use him besides generic government experimentation. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that we keep kind of hearing we keep hearing Ultron name kind of get name dropped every now and then to keep reminding us of that. I'm leaning that might be what we have here.
And after every episode, they want you to watch Age of Ultron.
I know they
so
do.
Like jokes is like. Marvel, after every time they want me to watch Age of Ultron, is the Steve Rogers. No, I don't think I will.
But I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, if Ultron is, I mean, we know Agatha Harkness and possibly even Mephisto are the big bads, but if Ultron is another big bad, it's like okay, because I mean, I didn't love the original Ultron. I mean, I don't think I hated him quite as much as maybe a lot of other people did.
He was.
But he wasn't the hype. He didn't live up to the hype.
The Marcus Russell.
I don't think he's that bad.
But yeah.
He's more like an Andrew Wiggins, a guy who showed a lot of promise, but didn't completely live up to it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love Ultron. So I don't know how I'd feel if Ultron, even if he were the big bad here, but he was another big bad waiting to drop, I'd be like, okay, can we kind of just get to Ultron revealing himself in the government?
So
unless like he has created other Ultron bots that completely infiltrated the government,
well,
in almost like an LMD almost kind of way, since a shield or something.
right.
That would
Now,
be kind of interesting. But other than that,
what is the deal with Hayward? Would we be cool with Hayward just being your standard military, hyper military guy?
I mean,
I don't need him to be.
I feel like there's got to be something.
I feel like there's got to be something, but I think I'm with Sham. I don't know if I need that, only because I feel like what's happening in the Hex is way more interesting than what's happening outside.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening outside has to be flushed out, and you gotta play it out, and it's good. Like, I'm interested, I'm intrigued, but like anything involving Agatha, we don't know where the kids are. Like, that stuff is paramount. Right. So if he, like, so to add Ultron on the outside, it's like, oh man, this is a lot happening right now. I'm all for it, and this is comic book superhero fan dream. But if they don't go that route, he's not a Skrull, he's not anything, he's just an ambitious jerk, like, then let him just be a jerk. That's cool.
The reason why I also think that there's something going on there is two things. One, like, when they introduced him, he seemed like just a super good, like, friend of Monica. So that to me seems alright. One, that seems suspicious. Why would you frame him like this good guy all of a sudden and just make him evil? But then two, I'm looking at it just from a Marvel standpoint, how they like to do their properties. We've seen, at least WandaVision so far, they've set up, on the one hand, trying to find ways to push Wanda and that storyline into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. On the other hand, we've seen them trying to push Monica Rambeau and her story into Captain Marvel 2. Where does any of this Director Hayward Vision stuff fit into the larger MCU? And that's the question that I have. Does it not fit into any of it? Is it just for WandaVision, just to say the Sword's evil? Don't trust Sword, going forward? Or is this, like people have had the theory, they changed the name of Sword in the MCU. I don't remember what the original S is for. I don't know, strategic or something like that. But they changed it to sentient. And people have made the leap to say that they changed it to sentient to project that they're going to turn Vision into the Sentinels on some level. They're going to use his DNA or his blueprint to create the Sentinels. So I don't know what that is, but I feel like there has to be a connection to the future of the MCU beyond we just need an evil military guy.
And I mean, go ahead, Sean.
I was gonna say, we know Fury is, or seems to be involved with Sword in a leadership position, and we know Fury has had issues before with weapons, and should this weapon be used to monitor? That was a whole big thing in Winter Soldier, So we've kind of seen this with him before, but I guess he's going to be in Secret Invasion. He's going to be in Secret Invasion, so you can kind of see it going down that road.
Right. That's why the Skrull thing is popular.
Right.
If he's going to be in Secret Invasion and Fury's invested in Sword, then Director Hayward being a Skrull would make sense. I don't know what that has to do with anything involving Vision at all, but in terms of just him being like evil, it would make sense.
Yeah. Well, if he's a Skrull that's decided, that Fury's vision is not the right vision, that they actually need to take over Earth because Earth is terrible or whatever, and there's these terrible Avengers who are actually, they're not being governed and we need to take over for some reason. That could
Fury's
be something.
Vision is not the right vision, so we need our own vision.
Bars.
That bars right there. It's funny because I thought about Fury too, and I'm glad Shamari went there because to me, now to be fair, the last time we've seen any operatives of Fury work within Earth, we've seen
Well, I thought you were going to talk.
No, they were good. Yeah, I'm talking about Spider-Man. They were good in terms of like they were not bad people, but like they weren't effective. Like they were not good. And like and the Talos says, "Yo, man, this thing went off the rails. Like this was hard work. Like you really need to come back." And it kind of it leads me to a lot of different questions about like what is Sword like is he like because one okay are is it possible that the people who are actually good in Sword are like not on Earth like whatever like we think like there's so like you know how like in Shield there's like you know certain levels of security clearance like maybe
Right.
Hayward's on like a 4 and he's like oh he thinks that it's just like you know basic space missions and nothing crazy, but like if you get to the higher levels that are so classified, he don't even know what's going on. Like it's much deeper because we've seen you know Talos and his wife do the best they can, but really struggle in trying to contain everything that was going on in Europe. And we see here, I mean, they're like mall cops. You know, they're not getting the job done with this. They're clearly way over their heads, and it kind of makes me wonder. One, okay, it's like, is this an aspect that's a problem that Fury has done? Is that he's created this? He's a big part of this new organization, but like he's so distant from it that like what's happening on Earth is like a clown show. But then that makes me ask also, they're so incompetent and so like weird in terms of like their motivations. Like I can never imagine Fury like being like okay with like any of like Hayward's movements. Like it makes me wonder: is he with Sword or is he with something else? Like we just keep assuming he's with Sword, but what if he's with another?
You're lining it up like Sword is not what Fury's with because
no,
Sword
exactly.
seems like I don't know if it's an evil organization in this thing, but they I mean they're not the good guys in this show.
Not at all.
Obviously, Monica was with Sword, but it feels like there may be something else going on.
Yeah, something else. I think they lined it up to that Hayward specifically.
Right.
Is not a good guy.
Not the agents, not like everybody in Sword is evil.
Right.
And they did mention like during the snap, like they lost a lot of good people, you know,
right,
affected, and we can, you know, talk about whether or not that's a Fantastic Four and stuff. Yeah. But
it gives you kind of Thunderbolt Ross vibes.
Right. And we could, I mean, again, like if he's Ultron or if he's a Skrull or if he's whatever he is, and that gets revealed, like we could have a situation where someone else gets put in as director. Maybe it's Monica, maybe it's someone else, and we see a new Sword kind of emerge in Captain Marvel too.
We also in this episode got really the true like origin really of like Monica really getting her powers here. We knew last episode her molecules and her cells were changing. That's what Darcy told her. And when that mission to get her through the hex with that vehicle fails, she takes the onus to say, I'm going to just run through. I'm not going to use any kind of protection or anything like that.
What made her think that she can go through?
Well, she's been through it
watching
before.
It twice. That's got to be the only reason. She's like, I can get through. And I'm like,
and
wow.
I think that there's something
she can get through with this weapon.
There's something to why she can get through. I think there's something like, I mean, clearly like that process and like I thought it was a very emotional, well done, heartfelt like way of like having her.
You think it's in her DNA?
I think there's still something with mutants going on. Because you're right. Like why was she able to just go through like that? I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I guess we saw the other guy, the beekeeper, that was like a thing that he went through.
Yeah, he went underneath. I don't know if that was wild.
But it wasn't nearly as like difficult as this was. Like this was like
well, that was before Wanda did her thing to make it all like
max protection,
like to add that extra
and I was gonna say I don't know if like because it's more expanded that it's like even stronger. Like I don't know, but it's possible.
And she made it like more red and stuff too. Remember, she was like, I forgot what exactly she said, but she like made it. She like changed the color of it. It was like blue.
You're right about that. That is true.
Exactly, it was like a maximum protection.
Yeah,
maximum security hex now.
Yeah,
which made it seem like they couldn't get in, but why they needed that machine, or they still couldn't penetrate it.
I mean,
he was able to walk through. I don't know.
Yeah. But to me, it was super cool to see like that like superhero origin basically kind of play out in front of us in this like act of courage, and what a great job of like playing that audio from Captain Marvel. And
it's very Star Wars-esque.
Her talk to her mom about wanting to go up there and help her as they battled with the evil Kree, and her mom saying you can't go, and hearing Fury's voice and hearing Carol's voice, and it tells me that whatever she's dealing, whatever issues she has with Carol still means a lot to her because I think that was the last verse we heard when she was going through there.
Yes.
Was that your mom was lucky to have someone as tough as you as a kid. Really, just great, just really great. The effects, everything about it was really cool, and she decided to pull up on Wanda, and again, I think you guys were right. It was a great scene to see her, stare down Wanda, but she seemed to know that like she had changed once she got through there, because she walked up there, she knew that the vision of what she was able to see. She was seeing the world in like some kind of infrared. Molecular level that she, obviously was not normal. Her eyes were blue. I thought the effects on her eyes looked great. And then, when Wanda, tried to, hit her with that chaos magic, she knew to stick the landing and absorb that energy. So, it was the birth of a new hero, and I'm excited to see, what this showdown with the Quicksilver is going to look like. 'Cause I agree. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. It's so interesting that she was able to walk through and like you said, she had those eyes and she could see in the different spectrums and she didn't change. Remember last time she went in, she turned into Geraldine.
Yeah. Now, was that because something special about her, or was it just because we're now in a more modern setting?
That's well, what's weird is that, remember, even though we're in a more modern setting, like the vehicle turned into like a like a Jeep
That's
or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, when she walked in, she was just wearing her normal stuff. She was wearing all her. That's why I think Wanda was so taken aback. She's like, "What are you doing here, looking like that too?" I think that was part of it too.
Yeah, and I think that's why Agnes was like, you're not.
We gotta step in. This is not supposed to happen.
Yeah, everything else was going according to plan until you showed up.
Right.
Why do you think Agatha isn't more forceful with Monica in these scenes? Like, I mean, I guess maybe to keep up the ruse.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
But I guess in that last scene, because the ruse was given up 10 minutes later, I kind of wondered, like, that could have went a lot of different ways. Like, what if Monica decided, nah, I'm ready to scrap? Was she gonna reveal herself then? Like, what was gonna happen? Like, I'm kind of curious, like, why she's allowed kind of Monica. She kind of just treated her like a person who was bothering Wanda.
Well, she doesn't know that Agatha isn't like another person that's she could. I mean, she may think that Agatha's innocent and all. She doesn't know she's evil. So,
well, yeah, I'm not talking about Monica. I'm talking about why Agnes is allowing Monica.
Right. Like maybe Agnes is thinking to herself, like,
she's giving her a lot of rope to me.
Yeah, like, she's not gonna attack me. What's she gonna do to me? Like, as long
maybe
as
she feels she's so powerful. She's like, maybe she does anything, it's a wrap.
Right. She also has Pietro around, which we know that's gonna be a thing. I guess.
Yeah. He seems like some sort of acolyte at this point for her, and I think she's an acolyte to someone else. I don't think she's a big bad of this series. That hasn't been confirmed, but that seems to be the direction. But I think by the last episode we'll have maybe in the next episode, which I think next episode will be a direct connection. Like, I think this is now we're getting into movie mode. The next episode is going to start right where we left off, and no more TV stuff.
No more.
Yeah, I don't think no more sitcoms.
Yeah. I think
remember they said that it's not being broadcasted anymore.
Yeah, it's not being broadcasted. I think it's a wrap.
It's not being broadcasted. So, seems like we're out of the TV thing. I wonder if like the title of the finale or the next one will be some sort of joke about like WandaVision, the movie, or something like that, like part 1 or something like that, or if they'll leave that for the finale. But yeah, I think it's gonna start off. But I think in the next episode or in the finale, we'll get the reveal of whoever that big bad is. I think it's gonna be Nightmare. That seemed like that was the initial word of who's gonna be the villain of Doctor Strange. So my guess is that Nightmare is behind Agatha's motivations. I think the motivations are to get Wiccan and Speed. It's interesting. I mean, it looked like she had the Darkhold book in her.
Yeah. So was that the Darkhold? I didn't know.
Yeah, I know. That's your theory. That's your theory that's the Darkhold.
Yeah. I'm convinced that that's.
And this show did make a reference to Agents of Shield at some point in time. It was that commercial we got earlier in this season. We've seen no other references to Agents of Shield. So
yeah, people mentioned the thing on Darcy's van, and the van that they had kind of looked like the Tahiti doll that Sky had.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
What was a reference to Agents of Shield?
It was the Hydra soap.
Oh yes,
The Hydra soap that Coulson that talked about in the framework that he said was being used by Hydra to make people believe in Hydra basically.
I see. Right.
Everybody went crazy. They're like, we've never seen like that obvious. I mean, there's no other way. There's no other reference to like soap in Hydra. That's the only reference we know. So this is the first time we had seen anything from the MCU that was so directly linked to Agents of Shield. Maybe since obviously season 1 with the whole Hydra, being in Shield and infiltrating. Like since then, we've seen nothing pretty much in terms of any kind of connection that the MCU is doing. Shield has a couple times tried to connect to whatever the movies are doing, but this will be the first time you're seeing that kind of go the other way. I would love it if that's a Darkhold. I mean, that's what I thought about, but I was like, it can't be a Darkhold. Like, they don't do anything with agents. But when I think about, again, that reference we got earlier this season, it does make me wonder.
And it may not even be, like, to canonize Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as much as it will just be,
and that's why I don't want it to be the Darkhold. And I hope if it is a Darkhold, I hope it's the Agent's Darkhold, but I don't think it's going to be the Agent's Darkhold. I think it's going to be the MCU's version of the Darkhold. It's not going to be as good as the storyline
connected to. He's never going to do anything as good as Jed.
As connected to the story. Do you remember that season?
Oh, that was
Ghost Rider.
That was Ghost Rider.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
I still remember the scene with Johnny Blaze.
Yeah, that was God.
Fantastic.
That was God.
So yeah,
level
that's that
God level season.
Yeah. So I mean, they can do it, but I'll be like, look, I was hoping for something new, a different. It can be any kind of magical book. Doctor Strange had a million magical books in his movie.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm still leaning towards she's working with Mephisto. I still think.
I hope so.
Yeah, I feel like the deal with the kids, like that's something that's like directly comic book related. Agatha Harkness and Mephisto and those kids, that's straight from the comics if you're making those connections.
Yeah.
So, to me, like, you could do Nightmare and that would work. It'll be fine. But, like, I feel like golden opportunity missed if you don't take the Mephisto shot here. Then he would make sense in terms of, again, you could do, both of them would work for, like, a multiverse story, but I think he works better in that field, and he's, I mean, it's kind of like splitting hairs a little bit because like Mephisto is not like the Joker, like everyone knows who he is, but for like MCU fans and Marvel fans, he's way more recognizable and noticeable, and he has more name recognition.
Yeah, especially where we're at now. Like at this point, people that don't know anything about the comics at this point know who Mephisto is just because
because they've been doing research and trying to figure out what's going on in this show.
Everyone knows like Mephisto's a household name at this point. Yeah. Marvel may not even have known when they were writing the show that he'd be a household name by episode 9, but that's the case, or episode 7 now. But so the last thing I wanted to mention on the Mephisto thing, just wrapping that portion up, Paul Bettany had he had an interview this week where he talked about how there's still a secret actor that hasn't been revealed. Suggested it wasn't Evan Peters. It kind of seemed like he wasn't talking about Doctor Strange either. He said it was an actor he's wanted to work with his entire life. Do we think that is the actor that is going to be playing whoever the villain is in Doctor Strange? Who we think?
It's very possible. It's very possible.
Agatha Harkness, because that I mean, it could be. A lot of people have thought the Luke Skywalker would be Magneto or Professor X, or Doctor Strange, but none of those actors, besides Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, would be people that Paul Bettany would want to work with his entire life.
Right.
But given the way the story is going, it could be somebody like completely that we're just not thinking of. Like they've casted Nightmare or they've casted Mephisto already, and we don't know who it is, but like we're gonna find out in WandaVision.
I feel like it has to be someone that we know.
You don't think it's gonna be one?
I mean, like a character that we know.
Right.
For it to be anything like Luke Skywalker-esque.
So I've heard the sort of meta kind of thing of what if Mark Hamill is playing the villain, and that was like it's like a play on words. And apparently in the animated,
I mean, all right.
I believe in the new animated Marvel universe with Avengers Assemble, he voices Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
Boy, that'd be a test for Mark Hamill. I'm not.
Wow. The Joker, Luke Skywalker.
I mean, Kendall, we're talking an major MCU villain. Mephisto, Nightmare. I'm not saying he can't do it. I mean, I love Mark. Of course, everyone knows I love Mark Hamill. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. But that would be very interesting. I doubt it would be a play on words. I feel like that's a little too jokey, a little too corny.
Yeah, we have our own Luke Skywalker coming.
You know, I don't think they would do something like that.
I don't think that would be content.
But yeah, that would be interesting. But I think that would be a test for Mark Hamill. I mean, maybe it's just because the last thing I saw him as was Trickster, and it doesn't exactly, and he wasn't bad as Trickster, but it's different. Right. It's a TV role, right? So to me, it's had a different level of seriousness to it. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm hoping that they mean something else, like it's Professor X or something, like it's Patrick Stewart.
Sorry, I think it's Professor X. I'm still going with the Professor X thing, but my confidence is waning after this episode. It feels like they're just going straight with like the whole Doctor Strange. But the multiverse thing is still out there, so that's still giving me hope. Like it's called the multiverse of madness.
Yeah, and like I said, and again in this episode they introduced Nexus in that commercial, and in a commercial where they kind of they cloaked it with the humor, the dark humor of dealing with depression and want to leave reality. But again, in the Marvel universe, that literally means the intertwining of realities, of
like the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah. So so they you didn't do that by accident. Could you be throwing us off your scent just like you did with the astrophysicist or whatever? Like, yeah, it's possible. Or Arrow, whatever, space engineer. But like I don't know. I think that we're still gonna get some multiverse action. My question is just how profound will it be, which is why again I go back to my point from earlier. The reveal for Pietro, like that's the thing I need to see now, because that's kind of, and I think to me, like in some ways, Marvel kind of is in a little bit of a dangerous position.
They are, man.
Because if we don't get anything involving X-Men, and it does really just be, he's just an acolyte, just a regular guy, or he's just a creation, and he just happens to look like the guy from the X-Men movies. I don't know if I would have done that. I don't know if that was the right move per se. I mean, it's a great show. I love the show, but you've gone this far. I don't know if they can let us down here.
That would feel almost like a troll, wouldn't it?
They're in Iron Man 3 territory. Now, this has been much better than Iron Man 3. But, I mean, that may be a hot take. But, I mean, I feel like...
I don't think it is.
But where, like, the show is, like, we don't know the full story. Yeah, a lot of what's been good has been, like, the speculation. It's more than it is, like, what we've actually seen. We haven't seen a whole lot. There has been some really good stuff that we've seen. But we're still trying to figure out, the weeds a little bit. And if there is, like you just said, no X-Men, and I have no problem with there being no X-Men in the show, but when you tease to me that there are X-Men in this show, because that's what they did. They teased me there are X-Men. The Spanish version said he's playing Quicksilver. Quicksilver from the X-Men movie showed up in the subtitles.
And you cast the Quicksilver from the other X-Men movies, who was beloved. Yes. Much more than your Quicksilver.
Yes.
So it would seem almost like a thing of like, oh, you want this Quicksilver? Well, you're not going to get him ever. It would seem like weird.
You say that, but it also sounds like Marvel. It sounds like something Marvel would do, which is why I said this is a little bit of scary territory. I totally feel like a troll is possible. I think that they
I
know
think
that would. I think they know that would be a real big step, especially
I don't think
considering you trolled us with the aerospace engineer,
you
and
troll this with
you're not delivering on that. I think to me
troll this
like
with Mysterio. Like, at some point the Mysterio thing worked. I'll give you some. That wasn't
yeah
nobody was upset about that. I mean, maybe there were some people, but the majority of people thought it worked in the story. It was funny. Like, it was like, oh man, you got me. No multiverse yet. But you can't do the multiverse thing again just to then say, oh no, he's even if he's Mephisto, I'd be like, I don't know about this, man. I want to quit.
Yeah,
I agree. We're running out of time here. I want to say, like, just real quickly, I did enjoy the interactions with Darcy and Vision. Darcy kind of, Vision having these very important questions, and Darcy really kind of being unable to answer most of the most important ones. She was able to tell him about like the issues of what happened to him the last time we saw him, and Darcy being the person to reveal that information, and brought humor and comedy to this episode. An episode I think needed it, because again, a lot of it to me was very dark. So I was happy that ended up being a pairing that we saw play out a little bit. This Vision not knowing who he is, with this Darcy, who doesn't really have a lot of the answers, but can maybe answer a couple of things based on just what she knows of the history of the person or the character Vision. I thought it was a neat add-on to this episode. But I think we should do scores real quick, guys. So I'll let Kendall go first here. What are you giving WandaVision episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall, out of 10?
Episode 7, I'll go 7.5. I think it was a very, very good episode. I thought they did it. I thought they did a good job of, teasing, in terms of what's coming next. It was a bridge episode. I think it was probably more of a 7 episode. But the scene at the end with Agatha Harkness moved it up, maybe to an 8, but I would go 7.5. But overall, good episode. But I have very high expectations for these last two. I think these last two are going to be incredible.
All right. So if you don't see Professor X, you're giving it a 6, going to a 5. I mean, I'll give it an 8. I thought this was a very solid episode. I had a lot of very cool moments. We're getting more in the modern times, which I think is welcome, and a lot of humor. It's just very well done. Typical MCU, very well done. Well produced. All the acting performances great. We got new powers, new reveals, new stuff. So I liked it. So I give it an 8.
I will go 7. I liked this episode. It was good. There were some really good moments. I feel like the aerospace engineer fell flat for me. I kind of felt like that scene, like as soon as you don't know the aerospace engineer is nobody, like everything happening in that part of the episode just really kind of took me out of the episode. I don't care that they got some big, they revealed this big tank that they're gonna put in. That didn't care about that as much.
I saw someone say maybe that the thing was to throw you off about who's this big reveal, only for the reveal to be her getting her powers. That I saw someone frame it that way.
Yeah, in some ways, and I was gonna say, to me, I thought, once she goes through and you realize she now has power, that was a great moment. But I thought that scene as a whole and everything kind of around it ended up being a dud. Like a lot of the pre-Wanda going through the Hex angle for this episode wasn't the greatest. I think he kind of pulled it back. And the other criticism I'll say real quick is, as I think of all the sitcoms, I think this one probably wasn't as enjoyable. And that's, I think, on purpose, because I think a lot of it is really dark. I think because of that, though, I wasn't having as much fun. So I think, to me, I think of all the the sitcom era, it's this is maybe my least favorite of the sitcom. Not necessarily of the story. I think that Darcy and Vision did their best, I think, to try to bring that humor. And I did like those elements, but because Wanda's part was so dark, even the kids helped a little bit, again, with the video games and her trying to deal with them. Some of that was good, but a lot of it, to me, I just had a feeling that we were gonna have a big Addicts episode from the beginning, because we saw her so little last time, and then she comes in very early here. I just kind of knew something was gonna happen, so I kind of was gearing up for that. So, and we didn't mention one of the interesting things was that Billy saw that Agnes was quiet inside. I thought that was a very,
I don't know what that's
very,
about.
very,
Very good.
very, very creepy thing. I don't know what to make of that. He
Yeah.
said, he's noisy in his head. I'm assuming because he's hearing all these thoughts and hearing all these people think. And he said with Agatha, it's quiet. That's why he liked being inside the house. He said the house was quiet, and he said you're quiet on the inside. So I don't know what that means. Like that's why is the house quiet? Why all of a sudden he's not hearing these voices?
I mean, I assume that was because she wasn't being like controlled. She wasn't having the double thoughts or the crazy stuff, like how Vision taps them out.
That's interesting.
That was what I assumed. I don't know if that's the case. It could be something else.
That's possible. Yeah, that's possible. Maybe Now to be fair, he's never had Billy's never had these this thoughts of these people are in danger or concerned. He only had that for his dad. So I don't know, but that would be an interesting concept that he
or just that she knows what he can do, and she knows,
maybe she's like I gotta make sure
her mind.
Yeah, that's what I thought was happening. But either way, I thought that was an important note. But yeah, I thought that the sitcom element wasn't my favorite of this episode, and again, the letdown of the scene involving the tank and who the aerospace engineer was, I think it pulled it down a little bit. I think what would have been an 8 for me, it kind of gets pulled down to a 7 for those elements. Good episode, but probably one of my on the lower tier. I think that we're really now at a point where it's 8 and 9. I think we're going to be bonkers, and that's what we're now looking forward to. I kind of now just want to fast forward to next week because I know next week's gonna be crazy, but it's just as unfortunate we have a week to get there.
Do you think next week is going to be a flashback episode?
Oh,
I think
good question.
It's not all flashback, but I think it's gonna be mostly Agnes
flashback
going through the story.
I kind of hope not, because I want us to get to where we. Well, I mean,
it could go that way because I felt
we have a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the ending of this episode in many ways felt like it felt like it open to the show. Like the ending, in many ways felt like open. And I wonder if the next episode, the title of it is called Agatha All Along. It was Agatha All Along. Right. Even the way the words came down, it came like a title screen when it first came over and when it came in black and white. To me, I was like, is this them kind of starting the next episode with that thing right there? Maybe, and to me, it would be kind of like a great cliffhanger to we don't even go into Monica showdown with Quicksilver. We just go completely Agatha mode for an episode. It wouldn't shock me. I lean towards it won't be that, but that ending was weird. It was weird, and to me, I did think that will we shift to an episode that is actually an Agatha episode, that it's still a sitcom per se, but it's not from the perspective we've been seeing. So I don't know.
Yeah,
possible. I would say unlikely. I'll say I put it at 30%. I think there's too much they gotta handle to do.
Yeah, I think we're definitely done with the sitcoms. It seems like there's about 2 hours to 2.5 hours left in the show, because they said the show's supposed to be 6 hours, and we've seen about 3.5. So we still have plenty of time left in this show, which is why I kind of feel like one of these they may label a movie. But that makes me think that I wonder if this penultimate will be her kind of breaking down what happened, kind of going over a recap kind of thing, and then next episode, the episode after episode 9, the finale, is just everything, whatever the final arc is of this, we get that. But we'll see.
Yep. But that will do it for this edition of our WandaVision episode recap review. Make sure you guys, if you enjoyed this content, make sure you give us a like and give us a comment. What do you guys think is happening on WandaVision? What are you looking forward to next week? Who do you think Agatha is working for? If she is working for somebody, what was the deal with the aerospace engineer that we got? What was the deal with that reveal? Is there something more to it? What did you think of the reveal of Monica's powers? Make sure you leave a comment. Of course, again, if you like the video, make sure you give us a like and subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. That's going to do it for now. Thank you guys for checking us out. For Kendall, for Shamari, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.